Hello, hello, hello. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. It is Wednesday. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I am here for you to ask questions to. Just to let you know, there's about a 30-second delay on the live stream, so please be patient as the questions come back to you. I hope you're all looking good and feeling fine. First question comes straight in from guest 522. Do you have to include an image of your display on your presentation? You don't have to, although a lot of people found it very useful and they actually engaged with it very positively. For example, when they were talking about their feedback, they highlighted certain areas of their display and wrote comments about it, or to highlight certain areas of the display to the marker. You could always put it as an image on your first slide if you wish, and that would be completely up to you. But I mean, you don't have to have one. Although if you're talking about it, it would be a good idea to sort of like point things out on it. Yeah, any other questions? Go for it, guys. You've got me for at least the next hour. Da, da, da. Ba, 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 ba. Let me just pop you over onto my other monitor, and then I can see you. You're over there now. So if I look like I'm looking over there, it's because I'm looking at your questions. Any more questions, guys? I'll get that shot up and ready. All right, the PowerPoint for session 3 doesn't appear to be on Moodle. Has it been moved somewhere else, or is it just to go on? If it's session 3 guest 600, then it's probably session 3. I would have thought it was there. If it hasn't been, then I suggest you email Katie, because she's the module director for it, so she'll have it. Did you not use it while it was there, or has it never appeared? I don't know whether or not I'm not actually at university at the moment. I'm still on leave, so I would definitely email Katie and get her to send it to you, or to get her to reveal it online. That would probably be a much better option. I'm just going to have a quick look on Moodle now while I'm here. Oh great, they've changed Moodle. Isn't that... Oh. Hooray, they've changed Moodle. It's so much easier now to sort of like go around. Session 3, further below under children's learning in science. What information should we include when introducing our display misconception? Anything you want, guest 417. It would be completely up to you. Your first slide has to be your name and your misconception or tricky idea, but after that it's up to you. It's completely up to you. So look at your overall presentation, see how long it's going to last. I wouldn't spend a huge amount of time on it if you've got other things to say. It might be worth just sort of like giving a background of why you chose it, etc., or how it was related to your display feedback. Do we need specific slide on our display about SE, or can we just refer to them throughout the presentation? You can. It's completely up to you again. You can have a slide if you wish. Some people have a slide, others just sort of like talk about it throughout. So it's completely up to you. Whichever way round you would like to do it, that is absolutely fine. I'm just trying to navigate through this now. This is the worst design ever. Yeah, so the person who said that they couldn't see, I will move it. It is on there. It's just further down in a different section, but I will pop it up. I've popped it up there now. So that's absolutely what? This Moodle is absolutely awful. I can't cope with that. I'm going to turn it off because I really can't cope with that before I'm back at work. Why do they change things? Any more questions, guys? Any more questions? So just to recap on that, the guest 600 were asking where session 3 was, and it was just further down in a different section, but I've moved it up now, so you should be able to see it. Any more questions, guys? Or people, should I say? I should stop saying guys. How you get to see the actual webinar? Sorry, guest 791. The one that I'm doing now, or a different one, or the past one? The one I'm doing now is actually above, or should be above now, and the other one I'll send you all an email so you can see the recording of the past one. The real one should be above this chat now. I can see myself, I'm there. If you're meaning the last one I did, then once this one has finished, then they're both linked on the YouTube page, and I will link it, send out a link. It'll take the rest of today to get it sorted and processed and rendered out, and then I'll just send you a link tomorrow morning to both of them, and then that'll be it. Any other questions about the 2QTSS1 assignment? On the assignment diagram, it says to include working scientifically and developing skills. Is there much of a difference? Yes, a huge amount. So working scientifically, depending which definition you're going to, includes a whole load of skills, and developing skills is how you then develop those skills throughout your project throughout the scheme of work or whatever. So one is almost like definition, and the other one's development of skills goes into actual how to actually promote those throughout the scheme of work. There was also if you remember, I don't know who you are, but if you remember in my session, we talked about the 4 pillars. And one of those pillars was to do with whether or not children would have conceptual understanding. And that also linked to how to actually develop those skills, including things like scientific literacy and numeracy as well, which of course does feed into working scientifically, especially when you're talking about changing aspects of data. But also, if you think about it, there's a huge amount of language in the when we're predicting or drawing conclusions. So working scientifically, depending whose definition you're going on, will be a set of skills. And then your second part is how you will actually develop those skills throughout the scheme of work. I'm glad you can see it above the chat 522. Yeah, I was getting a little bit worried. I'm glad it's there. Da, 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 da. Somebody last year talked about developing skills, including things like they were in early years, and they were talking more about developing the skills of exploration and being able to take risks and things like that, and actually being prepared to explore. But I think what they were saying, and they backed it up with reading somehow. I haven't read what they were saying, but they were saying that children have to have the confidence to actually explore. Do you have to talk about progression? Progression's important, so it might be how specific skills are developing throughout your scheme of work, throughout encountering the misconceptions, or it could be something that you put it into context and say how it would be part of a larger development of skills. Somebody last year they talked about progression across the school. They hadn't actually seen a science lesson, but their school, when they talked about school experience, their school did a science week, and they related it to that and said how, although it had experts coming in and things like that, which was good, it didn't allow for the progression of either skills or knowledge, because it was just a week in a whole year. And so they did a nice comparison, supporting it with reading as well, the difference between the two, almost like the advantages and the disadvantages. Somebody else also talked about it related to trips and learning outside the classroom, and how it's important that you see the learning outside the classroom. Is that developing the skills or the assessment of final skills, or as a hook and starter, and where that actually fits in to the line of progression. Ba, 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 ba. Da, 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 da. Have you noticed how I rock backwards and forwards on my chair? I do it all the time. Yeah, any other questions? (522), it says you're from Waitham or Waitham. I have no idea where that is. And guest 600, it says you're from Nelson. I thought that was a character of The Simpsons. Or Lord Nelson, Trafalgar Square. And guess 964, it says that you are coming from nowhere at all. Da, da, da. Any more questions, guys? Oh, sorry. Any more questions, people? I've got into this nasty habit of saying guys, and I mean it in a very non-generic, gender-specific way. But I think I have to change it and say it'd be better to say, any more questions, everyone? Or something like that. Just don't think it sounds as friendly when you say it like that. Oh. On SE2, my class teacher suggested I use Bloom's taxonomy as one of my targets. Would I be able to mention this within the slide about questioning? Yes, that's absolutely fine. And remember, your whole presentation is all sort of like centered on misconceptions or tricky ideas. So it would be really good if you then relate it to how that actually would either promote understanding or the remediation or the identification of misconceptions. The other thing that you might want to put in there as well is that there is reading out there at the moment that actually goes against Bloom's taxonomy. So that would be a good alternative view to sort of like get in. Do we talk about a certain number of things, e.g. hooks and stars, learning and ICT, or doesn't it matter how many you mention? That's from guest 964. It's completely up to you what you engage with. You have to engage with working scientifically, the development skill and progression, but the rest of it is completely up to you. The majority of people last year did hooks and starters. Some people did IT, some people did not do IT. It really depended on the subject, the topic that they were talking about. Some people did learning outside the classroom. Other people said it wasn't sort of like appropriate for there and they didn't do it. So it's completely up to you. I would really say, you know, base it on your misconception and tricky idea. So for example, if you were doing Earth and space, is learning outside the classroom actually viable there? And think about that. And remember, when we talk about learning outside the classroom, we're talking about it at the widest perception of it. So it's not just going on trips. You know, it could be working in the local environment. It could be talking to experts, you know, anything that is not essentially in the classroom. You really need to look at your overall sort of like presentation and sort of like think, what do I need to do and what do I not need to do? And this was something that came up last year, very much so. Well, the year before, when we actually got you to sit in, a lot of people got very worried because everybody's presentation was different, and that's essentially what it should be. If you have multiple perspectives for one statement, we do not have to engage with them all, do we? If you have multiple perspectives supporting the same point, somebody emailed me and said, can we just does all our authors and all our references need to be on a slide, or can we verbalize some of them? And I said it could be either or. And one of the things I said is that if you've got multiple perspectives, it's a lot easier to put them on the slide, because you can say something like Wilson in 2018 and state this, and this is further supported by the other authors on the slide. So can you see you're sort of like cutting down what you actually have to say then? Aren't we allowed to say the first one, then say the other? Yeah, I think I wouldn't say Wilson 2018 and the other ones. I would sort of like say this is also supported by the other reading on, or the other authors on the slide. But I thought we talked about misconceptions in general, not just focusing on our main misconception. I don't know who you are, guest 964, but you seem to be a bit confused about things. And by all means, email me. I am sort of like talking to people on email. So you're talking about misconceptions, but you're using your one from your display as the main theme that runs through it. Or some people didn't focus on that. They focused more about what they had taught. So it's completely up to you. The focus on the misconception just allows you to provide examples from either your display or your current school experience. So it allows you to further support your discussion with specific examples. It also really allows you to show that difference of approaches from one to the other. On the marking grid, it says about mentioning activities. Does this mean describe activities which support children's development of scientific knowledge? So describe an activity. Right. So I've had a lot of emails about this one as well, guest 104. And what it means by activities is what you've seen in school, activities on your display, an example of a hook and starter. So say, for example, you might be talking about something that you did in school, and you might describe a hook and starter that you did or you saw, and that would be the activity. So it's almost like what I was saying before. You're using examples of activities from your school experience, from your display, to bring everything together. So rather than just talking theoretically, you're providing real life examples. Guest 272, are these okay for slide titles? It's completely up to you. It's absolutely completely up to you. Obviously, I hope you all realise, guys, I can't sort of like give you specific feedback in this environment. So I can't sort of like have a look at PowerPoints or anything like that. You all, I said in there, I don't know if any of you came to the one last week, but what I found in this one is that you're asking, I was really pleased with the questions because they're really sort of like minor points. They're not sort of like massive. There was only a couple of people who had no idea what they were doing. They're very sort of like minor points that you're sort of like need clarification about, which is really good, you know, because you've got to that point. Do also remember, I am answering emails. I didn't answer anything over the bank holiday because everything was shut there, but I did answer a whole load this morning, so by all means, email. Did we say yes? I would definitely put it in there because I think it's really important. A lot of people last year didn't sort of like have a specific slide on progression. They sort of like threaded it throughout the presentation, which was good. I'm nearly up to my full time by only talking about questionings, learning senses and progressions. So I was going to try to include work throughout. Is this okay? That it's completely up to you, guest 313. The other thing that I would say is that make sure, and this is not just to you, guest 313, this is to everyone, that you get the balance correct. Because one of the important things about presenting, especially in an assessment, is to get the balance correct. You know, so there needs to be that connection between theoretical and practical and school experience and misconceptions. Can you see it? And sort of like, it's almost as if you're flipping from one to the other all the time. The ones that I saw that didn't go well was when somebody would talk. I mean, it's only 10 minutes, remember, and they would talk for about 5 minutes on the theoretical background of questioning. And that's all they were talking about. and they weren't relating it to science at all, or to misconceptions, or the progression of skills, or the development of working scientifically skills. They just talked about questioning, and it was as if I was reading or listening to, a professional assignment. And that's the balance, to try to get some reading, some how children learn, the different activities you display, and try to amalgamate it into some kind of presentation. And that's why everybody's will be different, and do not worry about that. Seriously, do not worry about it. This is the sort of thing that I strongly advise you not to go around asking other people what they have done, because you will sort of like think, oh, I haven't done that, and then you'll get really worried, and really and truly there's no correct way of doing it. The majority of people did put how children learn science on a separate slide at the beginning, and that's absolutely fine. I've written out the year of reading on the slide, but do I need to read it out during the presentation? That's completely up to you, 417. Some people did, some people didn't, some people it sounded absolutely fine. For example, if you were saying a sentence like Wilson in 1968 said this, then if you said Wilson said this, and I look at the date and it's 1968 or something, I'm thinking, oh, why have they not mentioned that date? You know, you can get round it by putting, I'm not an English person, but words like recent research. So say, for example, if it was 2017 or 2018, then you can say, and recent research by, or I sort of like look at the date and then decide what's best to do. Can we use any of what we've written in our rationale for the presentation? I'm not too sure what you would want to use from your rationale, but if you are using it, then you would have to, in a sense, reference it. So you would have to say something, say for example, you wrote in your rationale why you wanted why you picked the misconception. Okay, you would have to put the reason that we picked the misconception was detailed within our rationale and stated that. Okay, because otherwise you're actually self-plagiarizing yourself. So if you do get anything from your rationale and you want to use it, then just state that it's in your rationale. You know, so remember, essentially what should be happening when you're presenting is that you should be presenting the uniqueness of the work, and anything that is not yours that you're actually speaking about, you should reference. And you might say, well, hang on a minute, I did write the rationale. Yeah, but it was a group effort there. Okay, so I would be stating from the rationale. What is the oldest reference we can use? That is completely up to you, 313. It depends on the reference. It depends what it's talking about. It also depends how you're going to engage with it. What I don't want to say is that I don't want to say 2015 and then a whole load of you think, oh good grief, I've got something from 2014, I'll have to get rid of that, because that's not the case at all. And part of academic writing is deciding yourself which data, which you want to actually engage with and which you think is now irrelevant. For developing skills, would it be correct for giving examples, for example, observation over time, and talk about how we... Yeah, okay then. So that's a really... guest 57, that's a really good point from what I was talking about beforehand. So developing skills, so they were doing observation, and I don't know what you did, but say, for example, every week... or every day, well, probably every week, you were coming back to measure those bean plants. then that's a really important development of skill, isn't it? Because they're developing it over and over and over again. So that sort of working scientifically is actually beneficial because it's observation, it's measuring, but you're also allowing the children an opportunity to develop skills. And you don't need to talk about it a lot. You just need to sort of like almost like state it in that sentence. And that's a really good example, guest 57. I don't know who you are, but that's a really good example that shows developing skills. And can you see, just to put the opposite to it, if we had a science week or a science lesson that the children measured bean plants on one day and then never ever measured them again, they're not going to have that development of skill. Or say, for example, during a science week, they were asked to predict and what happened, and the predictions were all over the place. So you brought them all together and you told them about what a good prediction was. If they're not going to do science for the rest of the year, that will not lead to a development of skills. Okay, so that's a really good example. Well done, 57. It says you're from Nottingham. I don't know if you are from Nottingham or not. Somebody from Poole. Guest 313, it says you are from New York City. And that's absolutely fantastic, 313. If you are from New York City, that's brilliant. I've just got the video on my other screen so I can see. It's about a 30-second delay, so... Any more questions, people? Put some background music on. Where am I from? No, yeah, it doesn't say anything. It just says nothing by your name, 417. You're the only person that has got nothing by so just some inspiration and motivation. What for? Inspiration, what for? Or have you gone to New York City for inspiration, 313? It seems really weird calling you all by numbers, by the way, 313. I normally do this on Moodle, and then if I do it on Moodle, I can see everybody's name because you have to log in to view it, but Moodle isn't up and working. I don't know whether or not you've been on it lately, but it's all been, all sort of like changed. Science or life in general? I would say to you, I think it's always difficult at this time of the year because the weather is not too bad. You're on placement, so a lot of people I know sort of like did a bit of work or quite a lot of work beforehand because of this point. I would really say to you all, identify a period of time each day that you're going to work on your assignments, because it's very easy to think I'm on SE2, I finished SE2, that's it, but you still got your degree to do. And how I work, and which keeps me going, I set myself certain things to do every day. I never write a huge to-do list. I say this is what I'm going to do this day, and then I also sort of like allow myself time when I'm not doing anything. So I always make myself a promise, as soon as I finish what I was set up to do today, then that's it. the rest of my time is my own. So today, okay, as you can imagine, if I'm on holiday, I'm not completely motivated, and please do not take this the wrong way, to actually come on here and sort of like support you. I don't mind it, but as you can imagine, if you're on holiday, it's not something that you're sort of like thinking, woohoo, let's do this, you know. But I sort of like say to myself, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'll do this. Once I finish this, then my time's my own. Life in general, set yourself realistic goals and work towards them. My group used an evolving display. Yeah, lots of people did. That covered multiple misconceptions. I know you have already said that it's about misconceptions, but are we supposed to pick one in particular? No, not at all. You can use all those different examples. You might guess 407. Yours might be the one that I looked at, which was all about shadows. That you looked at multiple misconceptions. So that gives you a really good example point, because you might be able to say, yeah, this way of working would have worked for that misconception, but wouldn't have helped that misconception. Or, you know, the way this would have allowed the observation or the identification of every one of the misconceptions. So use them as examples. My SE2, I can't fit all my references on one slide. Can I put them on slide across 4 and 5? That's absolutely fine, 417. The other thing that I would say to you, remember you need to bring a print out for us, and do cut and paste it onto a Word document and print out the Word document. Don't put it on the slides, because as you point out, it comes out extremely small. So just paste it onto a Word document. My SE2 school had progression booklets within science that they used that went with the children, felt really nice. I was going to refer to it during my presentation. That's absolutely fantastic. So guest 272, what you might be saying was that worked in your SE2 school. What did they have in SE1? Is it something that they should have adopted? It focused on working scientifically, and I was going to discuss how this, yeah, that sounds absolutely fantastic. I hope are you one of mine? It'd be really interesting to hear that. It does. Progression booklets, I think, are a really good idea. It's like any whole school approach, though. It's whether or not everybody is doing it. And it also relates back to formative assessment. Or is it a case that everything's waiting to the end of the year, then somebody just sits down and colours in some boxes? I hope, guest 272, I hope you're one of mine. That'd be really interesting. Have you got one of them? It'd be really interesting to see them. Oh, drat. Not talking to you now. No, I don't mind. If you've got an electronic copy of it, it would be wonderful to see one. I think Katie's actually back at work. I'm not too sure about that. I know she's been answering emails, but so have I. Any more questions? I put some background music on this in the background that you'll probably hear. Don't worry, it's all copyright free. I do have one, and the school gave. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. No worries. 272. Yeah, I think it'd be really good in your monitoring and assessment file. Very good. And it might be something that you adapt and use in your own practice later on. I bet everybody's going to be emailing you now, guest 272, saying, can we have a copy? Can we have a copy, please? Don't know what my hair's doing today. It's getting cut tomorrow. It gets too long on the front and then it just flops. Not that I take any time to style it or anything. No point. Any more questions? Well, some people might be typing, but there doesn't seem to be many more coming through. So just to let you know, please do feel free to email me or Katie. If something's addressed to Katie, then and you copy me in, I don't respond to it. I'll let Katie do it. If it's given to both of us in the to statement, then I will only engage with it. You know, officially Katie's MD, so she can overrule what I say, etc. Not that we would do that, but if you want just me to answer it, then that's absolutely fine. Then reply to me. I would strongly recommend that you don't email me and then email Katie the same, because you're likely to get two different viewpoints. And then it's much better to email the person that who's going to be able to mark your assessment. Working scientifically confuses me. Should I talk about this? 313, it's completely up to you. It's completely up to you. The only thing that I would make sure that you do is talk about it. You know, but when you talk about it, it's completely up to you, or how you talk about it. When talking about progression, can we talk about how we had to differentiate for different groups? You can, if you wish, 417. And what I would be saying about that is, I'm assuming that you assessed the children beforehand, so you knew what level they were at within their skill level, before you actually differentiated the task. My view about it, and you can have this for freebie, you'll have to find, it's a bit like mastery, I think. I much prefer to talk to a class and tell them how to improve their predicting skills, for example. Or say, for example, somebody mentioned measuring earlier on. Rather than saying to people, right, this group, can you measure to the nearest centimetre? This group, you measure to the nearest half a centimetre, and that group measure to the nearest millimetre. I would want to open that up to everyone and get them to do it. I saw a science lesson just before Easter, actually, that I was watching, and they were talking about predictions, and the student teacher said to the children, right, I would like you to write a prediction, what you think will happen. Really good, like that. And then she said, right, this group, what she classed as her currently low attaining group, she said, this group, you give me one explanation why, this group give me two, this group give me three. And I thought that's really an interesting way to differentiate, because I was thinking, can I think of three different reasons why? You know, so I think there's lots to talk about differentiation and progression. And I'm not too sure whether or not we're moving more and more away from that at the moment. But that doesn't mean you can't talk about it. I'm just talking about it generally to everybody. Ba, 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 ba. Phonics confuses me, can I just say? Science and maths I'm fine about. English confuses me altogether. So interesting. Have you had your English assignments back now? Did you have them back before Easter? Oh, that's good then. So we've got 15 minutes, guys. If you've got any more questions, then do let me know. If not, then if you leave the chat, then I'll know that once everybody's left the chat, then I can pop off. I'll stay till 3 if anybody's got any questions, but I won't hang around after that. Because I want to go and enjoy my holiday. Which means I'm going to stream, just so you know. It's streaming. Well, I've got a podcast to finish, not a university podcast. They don't want me to make podcasts. A fun podcast. I've got it still to edit. Did an interview with somebody. So I've got that to edit. And then I'm going to do some streaming later on. Make some tea. Aside from quotes and some picture prompts for us during the presentation, is there anything else you would like to see on our slides? No. To be honest with you, 407, I come to the presentation, every single one of them, without any preconceived ideas what I want to see. Because I don't think that's good for you guys. If I'm looking for certain things, then I'm sort of like doing a mental tick off. So I actually start looking at them and think, right, go for it. You know, use it. And sometimes I actually write in the feedback something like, I thought how you presented this was really interesting. You know, and it's completely up to you. Some people did nothing but picture prompts. Do you mean cue cards? I think you mean cue cards about that. Flashcards you would be showing to me and go, Ian, do you recognise this diagram? This diagram? And I would say, no. If you mean cue cards, yes, you're more than welcome to have cue cards. The only thing that I would say to you is try not to stand there and read a script. Okay, we see it a lot. We've shown you presentations where the person has literally presented, and that's the key to it. So I would sort of like really concentrate on presenting, so having like key notes on your cue cards. And I really like it when some people pointing things to the presentations. Last year, did the presentations have how to do a weave throughout? Some did, some didn't. I think you're trying to get me to give you a perfect formula for 417, but I'm not going to. It's completely up to you. You could have somebody who weaved it throughout but did a really bad presentation. Just like you could have somebody who weaved it throughout and did a really good presentation. The presentation is not marked solely on how they have structured it. It's only one aspect of the mark. I think that some of the ones that we showed you, they were definitely at the beginning. But I think the other thing is a lot of the times people refer back to it, which is really nice as well. So can I please remind you that if you still have some questions, then could you give us a title to use? A title as in a title for the whole presentation. Is that what you're looking for? It's really it's really difficult to sort of like, and this is why we've avoided giving it. And I must admit, in the past, people have said that they actually prefer not to have a title. I would therefore just take it from the marking grid and say demonstrate how learning activities can support children's development in scientific knowledge, understanding and skills, including a consideration of how children learn in science. There you go. You'll be able to go back and say, people don't feel I'm not looking for a title on the presentation at all. Okay, I'm not looking for that at all. I don't 407, I've given you one there, so if that helps you, then that's fine. And just to let you know, all I've done is looked at the marking grid. And so the first learning outcome says plan and justify a range of learning activities to support the children's development of scientific knowledge, understanding and skills. And I just talked about that. And 407, the other thing that you have to accept is that I've just made that up. Okay, so please don't think, if you get a really good mark or a real low mark, don't come back and say, but Ian told me this was the question, because generally it's just those learning outcomes. Oh, 417. My school had a science week. Interesting. Made a bridge to hold weight. Then they went to a pop-up planetarium in the hall. Neither appeared to have strong links to the... Well, yes. And that's part 417. That's a really interesting point. And that's a classic example of the idea that, is that going to actually support learning? It could expose them to new areas that they might sort of like content. I mean, what I see there is a complete mismatch between activities and content, but not necessarily a mismatch between activity and skills. Because say, for example, making the bridge, it could be that there's a lot of prediction in that, and the children in year one could still predict, they just wouldn't have the in-depth scientific knowledge. Children in year 6 would predict as well, so the skills would be really good. However, the knowledge is not substantiated in that activity. So I would say that the year ones will be predicting, but their support from subject knowledge would be incorrect because they don't have the conceptual understanding yet. They only covered about the same time as science. We're doing But that's amazing, isn't it, when you think about it? To say that it's a core subject, you know, it's amazing. Sorry if this has already been asked. No need to apologise at all, even if it has been asked. But can we talk about science in EYFS instead of IT if SE2 was in a... Yeah, you adjust it to your own views. Some people did talk about how children used iPads in the foundation stage and how they used it to look at secondary sources or to take pictures as a form of observation, and then that would be absolutely fine. That's not a problem at all, but either or is absolutely fine. I think 417, I think it's a really interesting idea how the school is trying to fit science into the curriculum, and I can imagine that they sing about it in Ofsted terms of it being interesting, motivational, really sort of like engaging for the children. But from a learning point of view, do the children actually learn anything from it? Because it's almost like an end of topic. I can, for example, the bridges must be about either properties of materials or forces, and I can see how I would want to do it is do a whole topic on materials or a whole topic on forces, and then say, right, use what you've learnt to create the bridge, and then I can actually use it as a form of assessment, and I would be saying to the children, so what forces are acting on that bridge now? And they would be able to tell me, etc. I'm in your group too, so excellent. That'd be really interesting. I've seen a pop-up planetarium in the hall and before, and I really do think it's hitting more awe and wonder and the expanse of space and things like that, rather than teaching the children anything. I don't think they have a better understanding of Earth and space, unless it says things like, you know, it takes 24 hours for the Earth to rotate round on its 23.7 degree axis and things like that. I'll look forward to that for 17. While I'm sat there marking, I'll sort of think, so you're 417. Right, guys. There's just a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to wrap it up. Please remember that you can email me. I do answer my emails despite being on holiday between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock every morning. So if you email now, just be prepared for a little bit of a wait because I won't answer them till tomorrow morning. Please do keep in touch if there's anything, if I can help just by putting your mind at ease by just writing a sentence back to you and say that's fine, then please do so. Please remember there's no set way of doing this. You know, it's not sort of like really open. We're not expecting you to do it in a certain way. It's completely up to you how you structure it, and as long as it has coherence throughout, you know, so you can see where everything's going, then that's fine. Try to present well. Okay, so try not to read from a script. Rehearse it. You will talk faster on the day. Okay, you will talk faster, so don't worry about that. Remember, you have 10 minutes plus your extra minute for your 10%, so it'd be 11 minutes in total. But you should aim to finish somewhere between 8 and 10. Please remember that after 11 minutes, that's it. We can still listen to you, but there's no mark. Okay? Don't forget to bring your reference list on a piece of paper for us so we can mark it off. And don't forget to upload your presentations to Moodle beforehand. I know some of you might have finished SE2, some of you might still be on SE2, some of you might still have quite a way to go on SE2. So if you are, then good luck. I hope it goes well. And you know, remember that we're here to support you, even if you're off doing your placement. So do get back in touch with us if there's anything that we can help you with. Apart from that, I will bid you bon farewell. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and I'll see you later on. Once you hear me saying this, if you could leave the chat room, then that would be absolutely fantastic. Then I know there's no more questions, but I will be logging off shortly in any case. So I'm going to put the cheers, Ian. That was all great. One last question. Are you H off line of duty? I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. What's H off line of duty? Line of duty. I'm looking at. I can't see. I'll have to look later. Thank you. Yeah, good luck. Remember, I'll still be answering emails. Apart from that, I'd just like to say to each and every one of you, this is how I finish my Twitch streams. So I'd like to say to each and every one of you, please remember to be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind. Have fun, and I'll catch you all later. And until then, happy science assessment writing. Have fun, guys. See ya. Oh, not linking to science, just wanted to ask, is there a tutorial we need to go once we are back at... no, there shouldn't be one unless you need one. And if you do need one, then just get back in touch with us and we can arrange to have a chat with you. So if there's something that didn't go well, or you're really concerned about something, then let your academic tutor know, and you can hopefully arrange an assessment, a time to come and have a chat to them. Okay then, I will catch you all later. Have a wonderful day, guys, and have fun. And I'll just put a random stream. I don't have an end stream, I'm sorry to say. So I'll just pop this up. So I'll see you all later. See you later, guys. Bye.